Welcome to Fairy Tales with Evey. Today we will be reading the Kingfisher Book of Horse and Pony Stories. I also have a special guest with me. Her name is Sparkle. And she's a miniature pony. The story we'll be reading today is called Ink Black. And it is a tale from medieval Japan. This story is by Rosemary Chiba. A most unusual thing happened before dawn that day. I was fast asleep in Ink Black's stall when there was a commotion outside. Several riders had arrived unexpectedly. I jumped up as the stable doors were flung wide open to the freezing air, and the exhausted horses were brought outside to be fed and rubbed down with straw. Ink Black reached out to sniff them with interest. Elder sister soon came looking for me. I knew that when I have nightmares, I often go into Ink Black and doze off next to him. She seized my sleeve and pulled me to the kitchen, complaining, "It's disgraceful. The daughter of the house sleeping in the stable. She's not really my sister. She's the young wife of my eldest brother. These days she treats me more like a servant." She ordered me to fetch water from the well, wash the rice, and scrub the long white radishes in the icy stream outside. "Are these guests Lord Fujiwara's men?" I asked her. I thought that perhaps they'd come to buy my father's horses again. As she bustled out the kitchen, elder sister replied severely, No one's to ask any questions, you least of all." I bit my lip and picked up the water bucket. "Take no notice," said the cook, a kind old woman who often took my side. She heaved an enormous part of rice onto an earthen oven. Then she wiped her sooty face. "Remember how meek and mild she was when your mother was alive? Mark my words, she's a fox in disguise." Our valley is full of such strange old tales. I imagined a bushy tail showing behind elder sister's kimono and giggled. Whoever they were, the guests were important. They had been shown into the best room in the other wing of our L-shaped house, and they were talking to my father. Every time people came, I feared that they would try to buy Ink Black, even though my father had promised me that he would never sell them. I often would be sent to wait on guests. This morning, elder sister insisted on carrying the lacquered bowls full of steaming soup herself. She knelt to slide open the painted door and bowed deeply before entering. But she soon came out with her perfect lips pursed. As she passed me, she snapped, "There is still straw in your hair, and you smell like horses." Then she pinched my cheek as if I was a small child. I dodged away from her, ran to the everyday entrance, and I stepped down into a pair of wooden clogs. In the outdoor bathroom, I poured water from the bamboo dipper to cool my red, stinging face. The sun had just risen above the mountains in the east, and was streaming down the length of our valley. Everywhere, plants were sending out green shoots, and a few days before, the long trailing branches of the ancient weeping cherries had burst into bloom, also known as cherry blossoms these days, I think. Yeah. Already a breeze was scattering showers of petals onto the thatched roof and across the stones. I breathed deeply. My father says that there are two ways to make you feel calm. Either you can gaze at our beautiful valley of Tono, protected by its sacred mountains, or and here his eyes always twinkle, and you can run your hand down the neck of a perfect horse and across its smooth back. How fortunate I was! Ink Black was the perfect horse, and this was my way home. I heard Ink Black whinnying. He had smelled the spring air too, and longed to be outside again. All of us, people and animals, had been shut up together in the house for the long winter months, while heavy snow closed off the valley. Our storehouses were full of food. The deeper snow drifted outside, the higher the tempers rose inside. Catching the sight of my father, I called out happily, "Can I bring Ink Black out into the sunshine later on to groom him?" But he had gone before I finished my request. I frowned. My father had always been very indulgent of me, the youngest child, especially after my elder brothers and sisters married and moved away. I was born in the year of the horse, and he called me his little fool. How could he not? His entire life revolved around horses. I remember sitting on his knee one winter night. He told me how horses had originally came from a great kingdom across the sea, where they ran for days and days across in endless grassy plains. I couldn't imagine such a vast country. Even without being cut off for half the year, our mountain valley is remote. The only reason outsiders come here is for our horses, which are the most highly prized in all of Japan. Thanks to the mighty Fujiwara family, Father says the northeast region is peaceful, but elsewhere battles rage, and more horses are in endless demand. My father is the most famous breeder of all. Among horses, he is also calm, like the eye of a summer typhoon. Unbroken horses whirl around him as he patiently teaches them to understand what he is asking of them. In turn, he respects their power and beauty. He can always see the true character of a horse. He told me my horses will be tested to the limit and must trust their riders in the battles of men. Ink Black was a war horse. I shuddered to think what he must have endured. I hate it too, little fool, my father said, but that is the way of the world. I didn't want to go back inside on such a glorious morning, but my chores were endless. By mid-morning, the guests were resting, and in the kitchen, the servants took a welcome break. As they sipped tea, they whispered secrets. They claimed that one guest was a famous general. I imagined a grim man who rode his horses into terrible wars without caring about them. I slipped back to the stables in the west wing. Black snickered when he caught sight of me. "Oh, so now you want my attention," I teased him, and pretended to be more interested in the tired new horses. Besides, they were dozing on their feet, but one mare was moving restlessly. I discovered my father crouching beside her, rubbing her leg with warm oil and herbs. "Is she hurt? Is she hurt, father?" He nodded, lame in her right foreleg. She missed her footing in the dark. I made a face. "Surely this is the fault of a rider. Maybe that grim old general, traveling in such conditions," I muttered. "Poor horse." My father read my thoughts. Sometimes men must take desperate measures. This horse's rider has always dared to do what no others would attempt. He's the bravest of warriors, but now, suddenly checked himself like a man pulling hard on a rein. I stroked the injured animal. By now, Ink Black was jealous and snorting his disapproval. "Oh, you wicked Ink Black!" I laughed as I ducked beneath the boards and hugged him. Ink Black came to us when I was still small. He had been badly injured in a battle, but my father slowly nursed him back to health, confident that he would give us many fine foals. For safety, I was warned to stay clear of the great black horse with his feathered legs. Though healed, his old wounds still troubled him sometimes, and he could be bad-tempered. One day, however, I sat down in his stall and sang to him. Ink Black nuzzled my hair. It tickled, and I put up my arms to kiss his soft muzzle. That's when my amazed father discovered us. Since then, he has been the gentlest horse in our stable and my dearest friend. Elder sister has always takes a nap after lunch. I let Ink Black outside and tied him beneath the cherries. I still only reached him as high as his shoulder, so I had to stand on a box to brush him and pluck out the matted chunks of dusty winter hair. It was hard work, but gradually his black coat began to glow with a deep richness, like the 30 layers of lacquer on our wooden bowls. Ink Black stared intently down into the valley with his ears pricked, twitching them whenever a shower of cherry petals fell. You're thinking of our rides in the forest, I said, leaning my aching arms across his broad black back. Sometimes we had to help haul wood. While the woodcutters were at work, we would ride through the trees. Once we were set upon a desperate pack of wolves, but Ink Black never flinched. He leaped right over the leader and outran the pack. I was dreaming like this when one of the guests around the same age as my brother approached Ink Black and offered him a cake. A sweet bean paste. A fine horse, he said, stroking his muzzle. I liked him at once. He said wistfully, I had a horse just like this. He was called Valiant Black. We were in a terrible battle. The enemy was fighting on the beach. We had to find a way down the most sheer cliff to attack them by surprise. My horse was so fearless that it inspired all the others to follow. Did you win the battle? We did. And others, and others. In the end, we lost everything. He sighed and turned back to the house. When I led Ink Black inside, his father was waiting. My father was waiting by his stall. Little fool, he said gently, and my heart missed a beat. That mare is still lame, and I must offer one of our horses. For the general, not Ink Black. Father, please not. Who has spoken of just such matters? I demanded, more stern than I had ever seen him. I hung my head. My father's anger passed. He was still fearful. The general has been hunted down by his half-brother and betrayed his hosts. People I trusted. I could not follow this, nor I did not want to. All I knew that a horrible old general would climb up on my beloved horse and ride him away. I would never see Ink Black again. With tears streaming down my face, I pleaded with my father, but it was no use. The general must travel into the utmost secrecy, and he said his journey may take many months. Only a horse as strong and dark as Ink Black would carry the general secretly by night to safety. It was the greatest honor that a horse of ours could ever have. I turned to Ink Black and buried my wet face in his silky neck. Troubled by my unhappiness, he trembled and tried to twist around to touch me. My father called back softly, Don't forget, his next foal will be born this month. No daughter can disobey his father. I reached for the brush and drew it for the last time through Ink Black's rippling mane and tail. He had to be as beautiful as possible when he left. Then I pulled a dark ribbon from my hair, let him sniff it. Then I braided it into his forelock. Remember me. Much too soon, elder sister called shrilly for me to come and help. An evening meal must be served before the guests left again under the cover of darkness. I managed to escape from the kitchen just in time to see the riders mounting. My father was bowing right next to the ground as the general thanked him. I gasped as the It was the young man who had spoken to me, astride ink black. He looked magnificent. "Where's the girl who groomed this horse so well?" I wiped away my tears and came forward. The general leaned down and asked kindly, "What is his name?" The words would not come, but at last I replied, "Ink black, my lord." In the autumn, when the mountain maples were flaming with scarlet leaves, my father received a secret letter in the far bush. There was only a short poem inside. It brushed in black ink on the soft paper. He showed it to me. "No more din of war. The black horse runs free as wind on the pampas moor." The end. I hope you like this story. And now we will show you some pictures from a recent trip we took to a farm. Howdy, welcome to Fairy Tales with Evey.
Get this foot right here. There you go. Hold on right here. Stand straight up. Swing that leg over. Just swing it all the way over. Swing it over. There you go. Pull yourself up. Pull, pull. There, good girl. You did great. You look like a cowgirl.
Pigs are a sloppy mess, and pigs get real hot, so they want to stay cool. So that's their pond over there. Look what they do to their big bowls of water. Oh my gosh, they just step in it, lay in it, and do other things. I've already done every single one of those waters well about 11
She just went, they bumper card into each other.
Yeah.
They're butting heads. One sheep has horns. Kennedy, you want to give it a name?
You give it a name.
Painted chicken.
You name it, and we'll call her that from now on.
What do you want to call her? Chicky? Chicky.
Chicky, I like those.
Hey, Chicky.
Here she is. She's right here.
I had a cat in the house that I
Her head.
called Kitty. Her name was Kitty.
And her tail, feel her tail back here.
She is.
You feel her
Did you
beak?
reach her tail?
Oh, you do feel her beak.
That's her beak. Did you feel that?
Oh, she's like,
She said, "You feel that?"